A very good morning to all the viewers and listeners of Hello Kolkata, a Kolkata Calling podcast series. Like every Sunday, we are back with a very special guest for the Hello Kolkata podcast. Our guest today is Gaurav Khemani. He's the managing director and CEO of Rollick Ice Cream and one of Kolkata's most loved and enduring homegrown brands. I know a lot of you would be missing the familiar taste of Rollick ice cream with a strong and growing presence across Eastern India. And most of us who've been growing up in Kolkata in the 90s, early 2000s, we know what an important integral part Rollick has been of our childhood. Gaurav, he's presently the CEO and managing director. He's known for his discipline, strong principles, and execution focused leadership in leading Rollick into the new age. He's been leading Rollick since 2015, driving its expansion, operations, and brand growth. A little bit about Gaurav. He has over 2 decades of experience in business, retail, and brand leadership. And of course, there is another aspect to his life. It's his personal discipline, his focus on health, fitness, reading, writing before he gets to work every morning. So that's the mindset of a leader we'd like to understand a little bit better as well. With that, let me invite Gaurav Khemani to the main stage. Gaurav, thank you so much for joining us on Hello Kolkata.
Hi, Sudhir, and good morning to you as well. Thank you for having me on this podcast. I have been following Kolkata Calling for a while, and I love the stuff that you guys are doing. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, thank you. The pleasure is all ours. Gaurav, before we get into your journey, before we get into the Rollick story, the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the name Rollick, both personally as well as professionally?
Well, personally, so I've been, I've known of Rollick, since I was young as well. So for me, it was an aspirational. I mean, I always associate Rollick as a brand with fun, right? Because my fondest memories of the brand, as a child, has always been going out and eating the ice cream. And so the first thing that comes to mind when I hear the word Rollick is the fun, the fun element of it. That's the first thing that comes. As a business now, I mean, for the last 10 years, I've been leading the brand. As a business, it's a whole different ballgame for me. It's almost like my own child. You're responsible. I'm responsible for how it is shaping, and yet I don't have full control over it. Right? It's something that belongs to the hundreds of team members that we have, the thousands of suppliers that help us. And the crores of consumers who actually consume it on a day-to-day basis. So it's not something that we control, but as a responsibility, it's quite heavy because we have over 500 families that draw their livelihood from us, and that's a heavy responsibility to have. I have an idea and vision of where we want the brand to be. But it also means that we are constantly having to adapt and change the environment, because of the environment that we are operating in.
Yeah, and Gaurav, on that point itself, Rollick is a very, very homegrown Kolkata brand. When you hear Kolkata brand, does that identity mean different to you in today's India?
Well, for me, the Kolkata brand, I mean, I'm from Calcutta, right? I've been here for so many years, and so I obviously have a soft spot for it.
Yeah.
For me, the tagline of the state is the sweetest part of India, and that resonates very, very well with me, both for my category and as a state as well. For me, Calcutta brand definitely means the passion, that we bring to it. Calcutta for me is about passion. It's about being the underdog and coming back on top.
Yeah. And Gaurav, that sort of gives us a lot of pride and confidence, as Kolkatans, as people from Bengal. Before we get into the Rollick journey that you've been having as a leader for the last 10 plus years, take us a little bit back into your own personal journey, career growth before Rollick, before you took over as the CEO and MD of the brand. A little bit about your background, a little bit about your early career, what kind of experiences shaped the leader that you became. If you could take us through that a bit.
Okay. So I was actually born and brought up in Ranchi, not far from here. And that's where I spent, bulk of my life. The first 17 years of my life is actually spent over there. We've been from a small town. I mean, we actually, it was a lot more warm and close-knit as a town.
Mhm.
However, early on, I mean, we went through a lot of financial difficulties, and that meant I got to work very quickly. So my mom would run a catering business, and I think I probably would have started working there, from the age of 13 itself. Waiting tables, serving people food. That's how I, started my career. My formal career actually started at the age of 17 in Calcutta, where I joined Magma Leasing as a car finance salesman. And I did that for 3 years, during my graduation. So my college was in the evening. I went to Bhawanipur here, and it was evening college, and I would work through the day, attend college in the evening. And that was actually brilliant experience. I mean, both waiting tables as well as being a car finance salesman,
Yeah.
teaches you one a lot. It teaches one disappointments, the importance of service, the importance of smiling. And then I left for the UK to do my degree, and actually went back to waiting tables there to support my education as well. I did all sorts of odds and ends to support my education during my first masters, and then I reached Dubai, where that's pretty much where I grew up as a as a professional. I worked with the
Mhm.
same organization for 12 years. I joined them as a marketing executive, and I ended up being the director of a $100 million brand over there. It was a retail organization, and it was I mean, we were fast scaling up. Like we were opening up a shop a week, and that was brilliant learning towards the end of it. And in the middle, somewhere during Dubai, I actually went and did my MBA and came back to work for the same firm itself. So for me, I mean, everything compounds over a period of time. I mean, for me, the secret sauce is compounding. And what you learn today, somewhere or the other will come back. So I mean, even when I was in the UK and I was studying there, one of the jobs I had taken was in the warehouse, where I was a warehouse picker, and I would pick and pack and dispatch. And even till date, I use that experience when I'm in my own warehouses over here, talking to my teams over there. So I mean, having worked on the ground, as frontline sales, in the warehouse, serving people, has shaped the person that I've become. And essentially every year is different, but I think the concept that is underlying all of that is is the concept from the book The Goal. I mean, it's I've become fairly good at understanding what constraints
Mhm.
exist, and how do we debottleneck that constraint to make progress.
Yeah. And on that same point, because obviously you have managed a huge brand, you're currently managing a huge brand. Pre Rollick, one important leadership or operations lesson that has stayed with you from that life into managing Rollick today.
If I was to think about that, I mean, for me, the key leadership lesson, or a key lesson for me in life is that, right, it takes years to be an overnight success,
Hmm.
right? I mean, success doesn't come very easy. I mean, it compounds over a period of time,
Yeah.
and it is built progressively. It does not happen overnight.
Yeah. Yeah. And to sort of fast forward a bit, so you return to Kolkata, you return to India to lead Rollick, a legacy brand. Tell us a little bit about that journey as well, and when you first stepped in as the CEO, what was that experience like?
Okay. So, I mean, for me, the Rollick brand, I had no plans of coming back, to be very honest. I mean, it was not that I had a dream that I will at some point of time come back and lead the Rollick brand. Um, Rollick was actually started off by my father-in-law back in 1990. And, I got married to Anisha, my wife, in 2014. And, we moved, I mean, she moved to Dubai with me over there. And it was actually very funny because I was, at that point, I mean, I was fairly settled in my career, and I was, doing fairly well for myself. And my father-in-law at that point in time wanted to sell the brand because
Mm-hmm.
he was facing certain health challenges, and he was not being able to manage three businesses, out of which Rollick was one of them. And he was looking to sell the brand. And being from being a businessman that I was, he was he used me as a sounding board to discuss the sale of the brand. And that is what had actually got me excited at that point in time. And I mean, what particularly got me excited was the amount of money that he was looking for selling the brand. I took a few trips. I spent some time in the factory, in the field, just to assess what should be the price for the brand. And then I actually got excited and I decided to buy it for myself. I
Wow.
negotiated the son-in-law discount that I did.
Yeah.
And for years, the brand had been struggling in sales. Investments were not being done. It was a complete contrast to what I had in Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
And having lived abroad for about 14 years at that point in time, one forgets. I mean, I would come to India, once a year, for 10, 15 days. So I saw a very different side to India. But working for 14 years outside, working and studying for 14 years outside, actually, my perspective was very different. I mean, I thought of businesses very differently. And coming
Yeah.
back to India was a bit challenging for the first few months, to be honest. Rollick was different. But yeah, I mean, as they say, all that was in the past, and we are very different to the first day when we walked
Yeah.
in back then.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great thing that you did, because had it gone to somebody who didn't care about the brand as much, when it was, if it had been sold, it would have been a terrible loss for Bengal, Kolkata, and all ice cream lovers. But I'm curious here, Gaurav. You took such a big bet on the brand. As you said, your conviction was great for you to sell the house, sell the car, invest all your savings into this brand to buy it from your father-in-law. It stays within the family. But what gave you that faith, belief, conviction that you could turn around this brand and make it do great things?
So, I mean, a lot of it came from the work that I've done. I mean, like, so my Dubai experience were twofold. I mean, one was, we rapidly scaled up a brand. We took it from, when I joined, we had close to 45 or 50 shops. And by the time I left, it was about 300 shops. So one was that experience behind me. The other was, in that same company, I had also launched a startup brand for them, and was took it off the ground, went into operational profits. And today I'm very pleased to say that brand is amongst one of the bigger brands in the region for menswear. So one was the experience that I had of business. The other was I had a lot of confidence in myself, to the extent that, I mean, I knew that, and I was good at business. I could do it. And the thirdly, looking back, I was definitely naive back then as well. I mean, now knowing, having gone through COVID and then a few ups and downs thereof as well, I was very naive. I mean, I think back when you're in your early 30s, you don't think a lot of things through. But
Mm-hmm.
that was on my side. I mean, that was part of the thinking that, okay, I'm very young. This is a great opportunity. I can do it. And if things don't work, I can always go back to corporate life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, so I said, okay, it would be a few years of savings gone down the drain, but you know, I could always go back. That was the thinking. Today, if you tell me to go back to corporate world, I would never do that. It's
Yeah.
just so much
Yeah.
fun, doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what happened. I mean, I think a bit of stupidity, a lot of confidence, and some amount of experience, which helped me take the leap.
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant, I think, a story, and obviously Rollick itself, the history and legacy has its own story about how Mr. Agarwal started it. But again,
Yeah.
this 2.0 version also has a brilliant story behind it. Rollick is one of those rare brands that is from the East India, but it's still held its position against national players and competition. What, in your opinion, since you've been within all of this system for 11 years. What do you think people usually underestimate about building from Eastern India, Kolkata, Bengal especially?
So I think it was Sanjeev Mehta of Unilever who had actually said that we live in a country of many Indias. It's not just one India. I mean, with a population of 140 crores, we are almost double the population of Europe. And
Yeah.
Europe is a continent. It has multiple
Yeah.
countries. Whereas
Yeah.
we think of India as one country, and I think that's a mistake that that a lot of people make. I mean, the flavor changes, the taste profile changes, the language changes, the culture changes. I mean, in Bengal, as Bengalis, the mango that we eat is very different. I mean, we keep giving this example that as Bengalis we eat hemsagar. That's the mango that we know. That's the taste of mango that we know.
Yeah.
A little bit of langada if you're from the Malda region. But like guys sitting in Gujarat or guys sitting in Maharashtra, for them it's all about Alfonso. Right? Mangoes mean Alfonsos to them. Whereas for us it's very different. Our sweetness profile is also very different. Right? We understand rasgullas, right? We understand sandesh.
Yeah.
So for us, we want it to be sweeter. Our desserts have to be sweeter. So today, a lot of players underestimate the East, thinking that they can whitewash it into, whitewash their playbook from the West or the South into the East, and that's a mistake because it really is very different.
Yeah.
I think that's the underestimate. I mean, and we are extremely passionate people, right? We love our culture, we love our food. Even Gen Zs today. I mean, like if we go out in Durga Puja, we're all wearing saris. We're all so proud of our heritage and our culture, and that's something that people underestimate. They don't understand what ticks us.
Yeah.
And
No.
Being a
I
brand from the
agree.
East, we focus on that.
Yeah. And I think something you mentioned, Gaurav, which reminded me of slightly, aside. So one of my cousins went abroad, and he was living in a dormitory kind of a situation with foreign students, and there were two Indians and maybe one German, and the two Indian folks were talking in English, and then the German asked, like, why don't you guys talk in Indian? And so my cousin had to explain that there is no Indian language. There are so many different Indian languages, but he couldn't sort of get it across to him. So he said, imagine India as Europe. Just like Europe has multiple countries, India has multiple states. Each has its own language, own culture, own heritage, own history, and that's how India is. And that sort of went across to them. Okay, so India is like the entire Europe with all its countries as states.
Right.
So Gaurav,
Please.
I mean, one thing, obviously now, when you enter into, and we'll get into the Rollick journey, because you mentioned that when you had, initially stepped in, Rollick was very different compared to what it is now. When you entered the role of CEO, how, did you balance the legacy, the heritage of the brand, but you also bring your experience, your expertise, the professionalism, the operational excellence, efficiency from your past experience? How did you balance these two to coexist in harmony?
So when you talk about Rollick, and even when I was considering buying the business, whenever I spoke to somebody about Rollick, they always smiled, right? They said, oh, the nutty roll, oh, the bonbon, we love the products. And we always mention that the people mention that, oh, we love the brand, but we don't find it easily. And that was the trigger for me. So that was in the thought process that the brand has to remain in the minds of the consumer, and we need to obviously bring that the feelings back into the minds of our consumers. We have to make it available. So we didn't want to fudge with the brand name or what the brand stood for. It stood for fun. It stood for good quality ice cream, something different. The professionalism that I brought in was from an analytical perspective. That okay, how many cities are we available in? How many doors are we selling in? Back then we were covering the entire state of Bengal with about 30 distributors. Today, I mean, 10 years hence, I mean, we have close to 600 distributors. We are available, in about 25,000 outlets over here. So, back then we were not even measuring the number of outlets that we were available in. So it's, the essentially for me, the brand was sacrosanct. The legacy, the culture, the heritage of the brand was sacrosanct. What we were doing was, okay, we were getting it out there, and we were modernizing where we could. So, we invested, in upgrading the recipes of the business. We kept the flavor profile the same, but we upgraded the recipes. We made it creamier. We improved the factory processes so that we actually started bringing costs down significantly. So our manufacturing overhead over the last 10 years, we've actually reduced it by half. Um, we've invested significantly more in advertising than what we were doing, and we've changed that as well. We evolved the logo over a period of time. We evolved the packaging over a period of time, but we went back to the roots, even from a flavor profile. So, like even today, the best selling flavors that we have are very east focused. So our rabdi is our number one flavor. We actually sell more rabdi than we sell vanilla today, and that was inspired from here. Our dab malai ice cream, which is again, we use the real coconut into that. The real coconut water and the real malai of the dab is what we use, but we source that from here. In fact, we have two full villages that work for us, and they just the amount of coconuts that we buy is not funny. So we kept the essence of it, which was which is we are from the sweetest part of India, and we want to be known as the best thing, best dessert in from the east part of India, and hence we kept that. So that's how we balanced it. Like the professional approach came more from the business and the numbers side, whereas the brand and the product remained what it was.
Yeah. And when you think of ice cream, as you said, when you think of Rollick, when you think of ice cream, you think fun. But ice cream is not a fun, simple business. It's like it has so many challenges. Obviously, you mentioned capital intensive. You need state of the art equipment for manufacture. It's got logistics that you need to plan. It's seasonal, cold storage availability, margins. All of those factors make it a very tough FMCG category. Can you share a little bit about how, on a day-to-day basis, running a brand like this, challenges you purely because of the sector, because of the type of products that you're bringing to consumers?
So it is funny that you say. I think it was Steve Jobs who had said this, that if you want to make everybody happy, sell ice cream.
Yeah,
And
somebody. I remember that.
I think it was Steve Jobs. I may be wrong. However, running an ice cream business is anything but making people happy. It's it's a lot of tough decisions that we have to take. If you think about it, it's a fairly seasonal business still. While a lot more ice cream is now being sold in the winter months, but we still derive about 50% of our business in 4 months, from March to June. And then we get again an uplift during Durga Puja as well. So there are quite a few challenges, because we have to suddenly ramp up production, in from mid January to end of January, and then once June finishes, we have to ramp down production. So that's one of our bigger challenges, right? Because our manufacturing is not flat line. So it's not that 300 days a year or 360 days a year we're making exactly the same quantity. We actually go 10x. So we go from zero, we shut down the plant for 2 to 3 weeks in the winter. And then, what we're making in January versus what we're making in April is very different. Because it's also a perishable product. So it's perishable, it's seasonal, it requires minus 18 to minus 20 degrees of storage, which is extremely expensive. The road infrastructure also plays a big role, because transportation is a huge cost, and transporting ice cream at minus 18 degrees is challenging in itself. So there are significant challenges out there, but that is what makes it. I think that is what makes it fun and makes it more difficult for people to enter as well. So you have to understand this thoroughly, and you have to make your own mistakes in order to overcome these. Now, one of the things that we did, like for example, while our financial year is April to March, because we follow the country, but internally we follow Jan to December. And
Hmm.
the reason we do that is because we can't be sitting and doing budgeting in Feb and March, because Feb and March are peak months for us.
Yeah.
Whereas post Durga Puja, I mean, or post Kali Puja particularly, sales start dropping, and it gives us time to think and plan for the season ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
one.
we have adapted.
Yeah. And one thing, Gaurav, I wanted to understand, when you talk about, adapting to different, seasonality and realities of India. Obviously, you come from, global retail environments where everything is organized, works like a clockwork. But when you come to
Right.
Rollick in India, in Bengal, there's a lot of chaos, I'm sure. I mean, there's organized chaos, but there is a lot of chaos. Take us a little bit
Yeah.
about those experiences, about navigating such a chaotic environment, outside, inside, uh, from your lens.
Well, I'll tell you a very funny story. I mean, when I first came back in 2015 and I went to the factory, I mean, we realized that we didn't even have proper dustbins. We didn't have proper coffee mugs, and but suddenly, around 1 o'clock, there was a very strong smell of food that was coming in our office over there. And when I went to investigate what was going on, I realized that our own office peon at that point in the factory was running a catering business out of our kitchen over there. So that was my introduction to the chaos that is there.
Yeah.
Um, but it is quite different because I mean, things, if you think about Durga Puja, where which is a key season for us, right?
Yeah.
The city the city shuts down for transportation. We get a 4-hour window to get our trucks in, deliver the materials, and get our trucks out. And everybody's trying to do that within those 4 hours.
Yeah.
So it is, I mean, we have to manage that, right? We have to manage the constant interruptions that we face. I mean, the festivals are bigger over here, road blockages, um, and and also people are very very emotional, right? I
Hmm.
mean, so we've had a lot of stories in which people, even customers, our team members, I mean, they get very upset about what we would have thought should be smaller aspects of life. But we've learned to navigate this over here. There are definitely
Yeah.
challenges, but that is what I think makes it more interesting. I mean, no 2 days are the same
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, from what I've understood of you, you enjoy those, challenges on a day-to-day basis, keeps things interesting and fresh, for you. A new challenge every day. I think that's something you revel and relish, is what it seems like to me.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a scalar person, and if you tell me to manage a business which is the same every day, nothing
Yeah.
much changes. One day is exactly the same as the next day. I mean, I would be thoroughly bored, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we
Yeah.
need challenges to fix. We need to make improvements. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like status quo. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And speaking of challenges, I mean, let's talk a little bit about competition. You can choose not to, take, specific names if you want to, but there are, national brands who have also strong presence in the East, in Bengal. Uh, what distinguishes, differentiates Rollick from everybody else? And a lot of, brands sort of, go very big, very large, but Rollick has been relatively conservative in chasing growth at any cost. Can you tell us a little
Right.
bit about those decisions, when it comes to expansion and market penetration?
Okay. So, one of the decisions, for me, I mean, the first couple of years was also getting used to the whole manufacturing and FMCG setup. I mean, I come from a retailing background, so for me it was to understand. But we also made a very conscious decision that we will grow through internal accruals.
Hmm.
And so hence, whatever we have generated over the last 10 years is what we've kept putting it back into the business. And that so to some degree we've been a bit more conservative till now. We've built
Hmm.
a strong foundation while doing that. However, we are able to fend off competition, at least in the eastern part of it, because we understand we understand the flavor profiles of India, of the East very well. Now, when we were running parlors, I mean, we saw that when a family of 10 would come, whatever the mother chose, all 10 people would buy the same thing. I mean, they would not buy 10 different things. Whereas if you go to when I've spent time in parlors in the western part of the country as well, people have very individual tastes. Whereas here we are more collective. I think that comes from our political background as well. With socialism, we are very, very collectivist society, and that has an impact in what we sell as well. I mean, our flavors really are very different. You can't do the mangoes are different, the vanillas are different. You have to understand the nuances of the market, which very few people do. I always laugh, during Durga Puja. I always laugh because in Calcutta, particularly in Durga Puja, the city gets plastered with advertising.
Yeah.
And you see not just ice cream, but all types of brands, advertising. And the most the thing that these brands do is they put a ghanochi, they put a dhak, and they think that they've Bengalized the communication,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then they're relevant for Durga Puja. And I just laugh because Durga Puja is so much more than a ghanochi and a dhak, right? So I mean, when we do, when we think of campaigns during Durga Puja, for us it's all about the adda that takes place. The fact that we're all very dressed up. It's about
Yeah.
being together, and the food that we enjoy. Because I think the kitchen in most Bengali households shuts down for those 6-7 days because you're always eating out.
Yeah.
So understanding these nuances is how we are winning against competition, right? Like
Yeah.
right from the flavors to our communication to the language that we use, and trying to connect with our consumers as Bengalis, as we know them, right? As
Yeah.
opposed to having a viewpoint from outside of what we mean over here.
Yeah. I think what you said is absolutely relevant, and we've seen so many of these cases where brands, international or national, try to come into Bengal, and they simply just translate what was working in the West or any other part of the country into Bengali, and they expect it to ring the same sentiments, which it doesn't. It just becomes symbolism and tokenism rather than understanding the cultural depth that certain emotions, certain festivals evoke in the people, in their consumers. So I think, yeah, they really, really miss understanding the psyche of the consumer.
No, absolutely. I mean, and I won't name this competitor of ours, but one of our competitors launched Nolan Gold. I mean, they followed us and they launched Nolan Gold, and they plastered, they plastered advertising with it. I mean, and the funniest part was they had Gota Good in their advertising, right? And they're launching a Nolan Gold product. I mean, they just got it so wrong.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so like you may have a lot of money, you may have the best of intentions, but
Yeah.
I think our local connect, gives us that edge today.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I'd like to get into, because obviously we are speaking about the advantages of being a brand close to the roots, building from here for outsiders, let's say expanding to outside markets or people who are coming to Bengal for the first time, capturing their taste. How have you thought about it? What are you doing for that?
So there are a couple of things. I mean, consciously, one thing that we've said is that we, over at least the next 5 years, we're not going to go beyond the eastern part of the country. So we have expanded. However, we've gone to the northeast. Jharkhand, Bihar, and Orissa are markets that we are playing with. So we've decided to stay here because we're still targeting a 30 crore population in these geographies. It's a significant population that we have. So that's a conscious call that we've taken. At least over the next 5 years, we would not be going out of this region. And the other is, what differentiates us is our ability to translate the tastes of the region into the products that we have. So the kulfis that we do, I mean, so we have we have a Kolkata kulfi, we have a Victoria kulfi. Now our competitors may have a Juhu kulfi or a Chopati kulfi. those are not what we think is relevant. So I believe, as a person, I believe in the power of focus. You can't be all things to all people.
Sure.
We choose our palettes. We choose our palettes according to the tastes, which resonate with bulk of our consumers over here. So we focus on our core consumer, who's from here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what you really are doing very well, as is evident, is as they say, first you nail it, then you scale it. So obviously you've clearly identified what works for this part of the country, and you clearly have a very strong competitive advantage there. Curious to understand, how has the rest of the ecosystem grown with the brand? So obviously, you need manufacturing, you need procurement, sourcing of a lot of raw materials, you need distribution. How has those infrastructure around Rollick grown in the last 10 years that you've been at the helm?
So there has been significant changes over the last 10 years. I mean, in that sense, I mean the roads have improved. The roads have definitely improved. Earlier our speeds were close to 25-30 kilometers per hour. Now we're getting 45 to 50 kilometers per hour, which means that trucks are turning around a lot faster. Electricity is an area where huge improvements have taken place. So that, because not just in our factories, but right down to the retailer. I mean, one of the ways of convincing the retailer is, because now power is improved, why don't we keep ice cream over there? And other couple of things, which is GST has had a big impact, because it helps us move states without the tedious C forms earlier and the long queues that would be at the state boundaries. I mean, that has virtually gone. And lastly, I think the internet, the geo coming in and making internet so popular, has really helped us as well, because the consumer is now consuming very different media, and it allows us to they've become more experimental and Western in their tastes as well. So I mean, and because we are combining traditional sweets and ice cream as flavors, it's resonating very well with them. So I think these are the things, from an ecosystem which has really improved over a period of time.
Yeah. And we talked about the external ecosystem. I'm also very curious to understand the internal dynamics of the organization. Obviously, within 10 years of you taking over, a number of changes would have happened. But tell us a little bit about how you have either seen a shift or engineered a shift in a culture that is focused on performance, a culture that is open, a culture that values its employees. Because I just bring this up because I saw recently that Rollick had this huge R&R program or recognition program for the employees, and you personally took lead in that, in terms of recognizing the really impactful performances throughout the year. Tell us a little bit about how the culture has changed, how much of it was organic, how much of it you had to sort of re-engineer to make it the brand that it's today.
Okay. Well, so culture is the number one responsibility of the CEO of an organization, right? I mean, so what I do and how I behave, reflects on the entire organization. There are a few things, like I think from 2015 till today, I mean, in the last 10 odd years, a lot has changed. I mean, I would say pretty much everything has changed. But the one thing that has not changed is our basic respect for our team members. And the fact that appreciating our team members are the cornerstone of where we are. So we have team members. I mean, in fact, an email came out just yesterday of one person. Our oldest team member, has been with us for 30 years as an organization. We have a lot of people who've been with us, who've been with me since for the last 8 to 10 years. They've been with me over a period of time, and they've helped us grow the business. So our approach to team members of, hiring them young, giving them immense responsibility, giving them a lot of responsibility, holding them accountable, and encouraging them along the way are things that have not changed. Everything else has changed. Our ERP is different. Our offices are different. Our, the way we measure, the way we budget, everything else has changed. I mean, because when I took over the business, I mean, we were, roughly at about 25 crores in sales. I mean, today, almost 10x of that. And it's, every step. I mean, running a 25 crore business is very different to running a 50 crore, then a 100 crore, then a 200 crore business. The business has to change. The
Yep.
systems have to change. I mean, the number of people changes. I mean, earlier I would know everybody by name. I mean, I would recognize their faces. I would know everybody. I would personally interview every single person before they joined, and the interactions would be a lot closer. Whereas now,
Yeah.
with having about 500 odd people, including our factory teams, it's impossible for me to do that. It's impossible for me to sit in every meeting. So earlier, while we would have a chat every week in the office where we would pretty much cover almost 80% of the teams. Now that has become, once a month we have a online communication that goes through, and once a year we actually try and get everybody in. In fact, I think this would be the last year, the event that we had in January, it would be the last year where we do one event where we get everybody. I mean, now our teams in the Northeast, our teams in Orissa, they're growing very rapidly. So
Yeah.
it will be impossible for us to get everybody into the same room.
Yeah.
So I
No,
think
and I think
to
it's a good
answer,
problem to have. Like when the team is so
yeah,
big that you can't invite everybody to one location at the same time. I think it's a good problem to have.
no, it absolutely is. I mean, we it's taken a lot out of us. The setting the culture of the organization, it's there. I think what I underestimated at the beginning was the passion,
Hmm.
of the people here. It's second to none. I mean, it's something that has not changed. Luckily, I mean, like Durga Puja for us. I mean, what we do in that 7 days, from like I would say from Mahalaya to Navami. I mean, the sales that we do in those 10, 11 days uh, are what we do in a typical summer month. So the kind of pressure that is there, I mean, is huge for us. We have team members who come into the factory, on Mahalaya Day or or Ekadashi, uh, oh sorry, Prathama or Dvitiya, and then they stay there for the next 8 days. They don't go home, right? They get a change of clothes. They're sleeping in the office. They are working for 16, 18 hours, and then only on Navmi they go home because that's the last dispatch which is done. and
Yeah.
and that is a culture which I think is there because of the passion that we have. I mean, I remember, so we actually have this policy which we put, when we are recruiting, and then we say, look, you know what, we will not give you holidays for Durga Puja, right? You'll only get Dashmi off. You're not going to get any other time off during Durga Puja. And for many people, they're taken aback, right? They're saying, oh,
Mm.
how can you be in Bengal and not give us Durga Puja off, right? This is our key celebration. And I remember, our factory manager at that time, he had a huge problem. I mean, he was not very happy, but he still wanted to work with us, so he accepted it. And he's the guy who then never would go home. He would not
Yeah.
go home during Durga Puja. I mean, and so because he
Yeah.
got so into the business, he got so into the brand. So
Yeah.
I think the passion part of our culture has come in, because of where we are. A
Yeah.
lot of things we've had to engineer, talking about performance. So we have these KRA systems in which, like people self-score. I mean, our data systems are such that people are able to self-score. So we believe in, giving very clear goals. We believe in regular measurements of them and then holding people accountable for it.
Yeah.
So that's something that we've had to engineer over a period of time. So that's come. But celebrating our people is not something that we've had to engineer. I mean, like that's something which which is inherent, which is inherent in me, and we've managed to you know carry that on. I mean, and I hope that we never ever change that aspect of our culture.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I think certain kinds of passion or commitment and loyalty to the organization cannot be purchased by salary hikes and bonuses. It's
Right.
the way you make the people feel valued as a leader, as leadership, that sort of binds them to the organization. And somebody wisely said that loyalty is a two-way street. If my company
Yeah.
values me, I'm going to go out of my way to do what it takes for my organization, and it's not so much dependent on paychecks or bonuses, but really the way my company makes me feel. So I think you built something very, very wonderful, and it was heartening to see the events pictures, the where the team had assembled, and people were recognized, given prizes. I think brilliantly done. Very curious to ask you this. You mentioned passion is one key ingredient that you always find and look for. Uh, for for Rollick, what kind of talent are you looking to actively hire today? And that's something, obviously, viewers and listeners would also be interested in knowing that, can I come and work in Rollick? So what would be the profile that you would look for in an individual?
Okay. So, I mean, for us, I mean, or particularly for me, I mean, we're still a bit old school, right? I mean, I believe in commitment. I believe in loyalty, and I believe in commitment. So we value education, we value experience, and we value attitude as well. So, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you work for a large organization or a small organization. I mean, we definitely look at what you've done there, and whether you've managed to stick around long enough, to see the work that you've done through. There are a lot of CVs that we get from people, like in the last 5 years, they've switched 5 jobs. We don't even take those forward. So internally, we have something called a job change index. That is basically, the number of years divided by the number of jobs one has held. So if the job change index is high, we reject that straight away. We value what people have done at work. I mean, how long they've stuck around, what have they achieved, and what do they say about the organization? Whether they are in it or they're out of it. That tells us a lot. So education is a filter for us. It's not necessarily the only filter for us. Where you've gone to does not really matter, as opposed to, so if you're fresh, I mean, we actively go out and recruit people from MBA colleges, from engineering colleges. And our interview process is also quite stringent. We have 2-3 rounds of interviews, panel interviews. So that's how we filter them out. But if you're looking to build, the biggest brand from Calcutta, please come and join us. Send me a CV. I mean, I'm very active on LinkedIn. We are always looking for good talent.
Yeah, and I think that appeal is very well heard across. Gaurav, I know we budgeted 1 hour. We are close to that mark, so I'll just go into my last segment. You clearly have turned around this legacy brand into a very high performing powerhouse that it's today. But what about, I mean, you mentioned that you want to focus on certain specific geographies of the eastern side of the country, but what future plans for Rollick in terms of new products, categories, adjacent categories, geography you already answered, but what's the next 5 years like in your mind for Rollick?
Well, actually, the next 5 years for us is doubling down on where we are. So from a geography perspective, we'll stay where we are. From a category perspective as well, we will remain in ice cream. Because we are having a lot of these discussions. We've given ourselves a target for 1,000 crores by 2030, right? And we believe that we can do that in the markets that we are in. We've built the foundation now. We've been conservative in our growth so far, but you will. From this year onwards, you'll start seeing the aggression that we've come up with. We've spent 10 years building our foundation. Now it's time for us to rapidly expand.
Yeah, and one thing obviously we wanted to ask you is, obviously you mentioned affinity for sweetness, affinity for certain local flavors that Eastern India, Bengal specifically has. But obviously this is very, very pertinent to our Gen Zs and millennials, is that they have become very, very health conscious today. And obviously the first thing that anybody will say, okay, you're eating too much sweet. So changing preferences of consumers because of demographics, because of health choices that they are making. You yourself are very health conscious. Take us a little through how Rollick manages these kind of changing preferences of consumers, and how does it bake it into its strategy?
So, I mean, we actually, it is something that is in the external environment, the overall health consciousness of the country, of the world actually, and the affinity towards trying to give up desserts as part of that journey. And I eat a dessert every single day. I think it also boils down to eating responsibly. If you binge, then obviously it's not very good for you. Towards that, we launched a sugar-free range as well. I must say, a product has not bombed as much as the sugar-free range for us did, but that was about 3 or 4 years ago. We are now going to reintroduce that back. We are experimenting already with various percentages of fat in the ice cream, percentages of sugar in the ice cream. Can we substitute it? So we are experimenting with it. But I also see our category as an indulgence category. I see people indulging in desserts every once in a while, and I think that would keep us going. However, we are experimenting, and we keep launching and then trying different things around this.
Yeah. No, Gaurav, this has been fascinating listening to you. I know, we are at the hour mark, so I'll quickly go into our rapid fire, which is a short segment, and then we'll part with closing words. So, without thinking too much,
Okay.
a book, a business book that you would recommend to other leaders because that has really, really helped you, influenced you.
I would say, The Goal by Gold that I read 25 years ago, and I came to sing. So read this book.
Yeah. One FMCG myth you'd like to change, break, bust.
Success requires a lot of work.
Yeah. Ice cream flavor that best describes Kolkata.
Dark Malai.
Okay. Ice cream flavor that best describes you as a person.
I would say vanilla. I'm an old school
I
classic.
think you're far from vanilla. One thing that you feel Kolkata does better than any other city.
Ice cream, definitely.
Okay.
Because we are from here, but I think Calcutta does desserts better than anyone else out there, and food in general.
Yeah. Last question, Gaurav. I know because obviously, you yourself are very, very health conscious. You have a very strict, disciplined, 4 a.m. club personal lifestyle. How much does your personal discipline actually shape what you do at Rollick? Can you draw some parallels? Tell us a little bit more about the mindset and how does it keep impacting, helping you in your professional life?
Okay. So, my routine is to be up at 4 o'clock every day. I spend time, about half an hour in meditation, an hour in the gym or running, outside, and an hour of reading. I mean, so that's my 3 hours, in the morning, and and then I get to work by 7:30 every single day. I would not trade that routine for anything because the meditation in the morning allows me to be centered. It allows me to be present in the moment, which I believe has helped me concentrate a lot. So I mean, my days, typically, there are days when I get into a meeting at 9 a.m. and my last meeting is at 6 p.m. and every single hour has been booked. So I need to be concentrating, and I think I get that from my meditation. From my fitness regime, I mean, you can't be mentally fit if you're not physically fit. So my fitness, allows me to be fully present. And I mean, for the last 2 years, I have not taken a single day off sick from work either. So that's what my physical fitness does. And reading is a habit. I mean, if there are younger listeners out there, if there is one habit that you want to pick up, it should be reading, because there are millions of books out there in any subject, and you can almost have a one-to-one conversation with the author when you're reading, right? So that allows me the most of my good ideas come when I'm reading, because I don't believe in inventing everything. I believe somebody's already done that. Once you learn through that, it allows me to consistently change the status quo, consistently improve when I'm reading. So, health, mental fitness, and reading would be my, this is how it has impacted me in my day-to-day life. And as a leader as well.
Yeah, no, I think those are very, very inspirational words. I think more people should follow that, especially from the physical fitness, mental fitness, and obviously the reading habit that you mentioned. Gaurav, not just because you are the CEO of one of Kolkata's, Bengal's most beloved brands, Rollick ice cream, but also because the person you are, that you embody as a leader in your day-to-day experiences with your employees, with your customers, and with our viewers and listeners in this short 1 hour conversation. this is really inspirational, and I had a great time talking to you, listening to your journey, and learning from you. Before we close today, our Hello Kolkata podcast, if you had a message to give out to the viewers and listeners, whether it's as your future potential current consumers or future potential current employees, the floor is yours.
Okay. So, well, if you're listening to this, I mean, I would love if you've eaten Rollick ice cream, and if you've not eaten, please order us now. But on the other side, on a more serious note, I think we're living in very exciting times from all perspectives, and there is no limit to what we can achieve once we put our minds to it. So please don't play small. I mean, play big, and see where it takes you. That's what I would say. Give it all you have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Gaurav. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for
Thank you, Subir, for having
building
me.
such an iconic brand, and taking it further along the journey, and making us proud, and also bringing this delicious, uh, I would say, brand feeling into our lives every single day. Thank you so much. With that, we'll end our podcast today, Gaurav.
Thank you. Have a great day. Take care.